Valley of the Avonbeg River, one of the most scenic of the Wicklow glens and beloved of cyclists, walkers and anglers for at least a century past.
You're looking at the river rising in a very beautiful location up there, up in these high little Curry lakes, up on the foothills of the highest mountain in Wicklow, Glenmalure, and then coming down over majestic waterfalls and through this amazing glaciated valley. And it's just an incredible valley. The Glenmalure Valley is, I'm sure many people know, like with everything from rare Arctic alpine plants growing on the cliffs to nesting peregrine falcons, to otters, to a large population of sika deer, which is an invasive species, which is affecting things, but just an amazing sense of wilderness.
A long, narrow, glaciated valley with steep walls that climb as much as 2,000 feet, at the base of which is the young Avonbeg, fed by small tributaries and waterfalls, one of which drops to a pool by a little house called Kellystown, a safe house in 1798 and Carmel O'Toole's home as a child.
We would have grown up in Kellystown, as we call it, the small cottages under the waterfall, without electricity, without running water, and that was just normal for us. We did have gas light, but we would have candlelight to go to bed. The electricity didn't go up the valley until 1973 and didn't continue up the valley. The youth hostel still doesn't have electricity at the top of the valley, one of the only ones in Europe, and makes it kind of a curiosity for lots of people because of its uniqueness. We swam, well, I'm not saying we swam well, but we paddled and thought we were swimming in the river. We made sand castles, we fished, and yes, the river was very much part of our growing up.
The ruins of the old British military barracks stands mute and crumbling as rebel descendants pass by on their way to the famed stopping off point for hungry and thirsty walkers and cyclists alike, the Glenmalure Lodge.
In the 1940s, 30s and 40s, Glenmalure Hotel here was quite a destination for tourists to come to. During World War II there was no foreign travel, so many people came here for their holidays. It advertised angling as one of the facilities on offer.
When anglers meet in the glen, the usual greeting, "Any luck?" is followed by anxious queries as to the fly most suitable for the day. Each man has his pet fancy. One tells how he killed 40 in an hour on the Priest, while another swears there is nothing to beat the willow killer for these rivers. The parting wish is invariably, well, good luck and a tight line.
John Millington Synge wrote about the people in the area that inspired some of the settings of his plays. When they meet a wanderer on foot, these old people are glad to stop and talk to him for hours, telling him stories of the rebellion or of fallen angels that ride across the hills.
When the tree falls into the river, it slows the current. Water pools in the hollows it makes. Pike and trout find a new place to hide. Beetles, mayfly and mites feed on leaf litter. The mossy trunk lies still as a bridge. A kingfisher settles, watches for minnow. branches reach for the light, noble with new buds.
The river is running flatter now in a valley steeped in history, with exploits that quicken local hearts, such as the great feats of the local princely O'Byrnes and Michael O'Dwyer, who bid defiance to his enemies and baffled all attempts at capture.
The feats of the Wicklow clans when they defeated the flower of the English army and drove it back to Dublin in 1580, and of famed Michael Dwyer and the Wicklow Irishman of 1798 were commemorated here today by thousands of their descendants. The quiet granite slopes of the hills along the Avonbeg re-echoed once more to the rattle of musketry and the victorious cries of the Wicklow clansmen of Fiach McHugh O'Byrne as the Battle of Glenmalure was staged in mock warfare.
Soon, at a bend in the river, the earth reveals a tear, a mark of its past that still affects it today. This bare ground marks the Ballinafishogue lead mine.
The mining industry was flourishing in many townlands, well, in 4 or 5 townlands in Glenmalure in the 19th century, and in 1840 there were only maybe 33 people living across the river and they were all listed as farmers. By 1851 there were 278 people living there. It was said that 100 lights crossed the ford at Barravore on Christmas morning. This kind of legend has come down in the local folklore that were that many people walking together the 7 miles down to Green Anne Mass and to the services in the Church of Ireland in Ballinatone.
Christmas morning, washed clean as ore in a buddle, the miners hold lanterns high to guide them the length of the glen. Sore heads beg for peace after a night in the shebeen. Black eyes and bruises bear witness to fistfights at the brothel door. Tumbling down from Camanabullogue, where mica schist and granite meet, the Avonbeg River keeps pace with their homesick stride. Like copper and zinc at the jig table, the men divide at Green Anne Bridge for Latin Mass and St. Columba's, morning prayer at Ballinatone. They belt out carols they learned as children, listen to the story of hope, then kneel to petition God for clear lungs, safe shifts, and the price of lead to hold.
The end is near for the trees of this year, and for the journey of the Avonbeg, as it runs into its sister at the great meeting of the waters. From there, they become the Avoca River, and run off to the distant sea.